Well, hello there, Derek Evans here. This video is called The Smarter Way to Buy a Home in San Diego, although it is relevant to buying a home anywhere. I'm going to specifically talk about the things that I've learned in the San Diego marketplace that I think can help you be successful, particularly if you're a first-time buyer, you've never been through this process, you want to know what the heck is going on, how is this going to work, what do I need to do, what do I need to not do, sometimes is the most important thing. And I will say that my NMLS is 155010. This video is not a commitment to lend or an offer for credit, but is intended for informational purposes only. I'm a licensed loan officer and can help you with your loan-related questions, so my contact info will be on the screen for most of the video. So, first and foremost, we're going to go through the steps. And no, not the Spanish steps in Rome, which I've never seen empty like that before, but the actual steps to purchasing a home. So first and foremost, you have to understand, what is your strategy? What do I mean by that? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with this? And then we're going to talk about determining capacity. This means how much you're capable of buying for. How much payment can you qualify for? Then we're going to talk about outlining your priorities, selecting a realtor, shopping for homes, writing offers, and then ultimately the escrow process. And I'll give you all my best tips and tricks along the way. So first of all, you're choosing your strategy. What is the goal? What are we trying to accomplish here? There's multiple strategies you can use when purchasing a home. There's a short-term investment. This is with people who are flipping homes. Okay, so if you're buying a home that you plan to sell in a short period of time, that would be a short-term investment. That's an important thing to know before you go out and buy a home. A long-term investment. Hey, we're buying this home. Maybe we're going to live in it now, but we want to keep it as a long-term investment. So we're going to turn it into a rental eventually. And this is the way that a lot of people who don't have tons of cash are getting investment properties. They buy a house, they live in it for a little while, turn it into an investment property, buy another one. And you can do that. It's a great strategy to accumulate properties over time without having to come out with a ton of money out of pocket. Long-term residence. Hey, this is a long-term investment for us, but really this is our residence. We're going to buy our dream home. There's no real investment in this. We're just trying to hedge inflation by getting our housing payment locked in and buy a house that we like and we love and we can be in for a long period of time. So it's important for you to understand, which strategy are you trying to implement so that you know what kind of properties you should be looking for and what kind of things you should be considering within those properties. For example, a long-term investment that you're planning on living in the short term, it doesn't need to have every single thing that you need. It needs to have every single thing that a potential renter might need down the road, and it needs to be enough for you to live comfortably for now. Whereas a long-term residence needs to have all your boxes checked, right? So just a couple examples. Then a flip, obviously, that's a short-term investment as well. I guess short-term investment could be, if you're a home that you're planning on owning for 3 to 5 years, something like that. And then, of course, a flip is like, hey, we're going to sell this thing in 2 to 3 months. Determining capacity. How much can you afford? Now, there's frequently a difference between what you can qualify for and what you can afford. So what can you really afford? In other words, what's actually comfortable for you? A lot of times when people reach out to buy a home and I ask them, hey, what's your monthly budget? They don't know, or they don't have one. And so this is a good thing to talk about. Talk about this with your significant others, and talk about this with, go over your budget. What are we really comfortable with payment-wise? Because most likely I'm going to be able to qualify you for more than that, typically. And so even though if I can qualify you for $7,000 a month payment, you may not want to spend that much. So how much do you want to spend? This is important because it sets you on the trajectory when you go to look at homes. So ultimately, when it's time to go look at homes, you should start looking at the homes that equate to the monthly payment that you're actually comfortable with. Because if you can find a home that is at the price point where it would give you a comfortable monthly payment, that's ideal, right? So we should always try to go for the gold. If you qualify for more than that, and you're going out and you're looking at homes that are in your budget, but you don't like them, then at least you can bump it up, but you have to start looking at, okay, well, where can I sacrifice? Where can we save money? Maybe we can refinance a car, save a couple $100 a month. Maybe we can do this, do that. Maybe we can cut this expense, cut that expense to help cover and make our budget whole. There's a video for this topic, by the way, to check out on my channel. It's called How to Get the Lowest Possible Mortgage Rates. So check that out and you'll learn more about that. Also, be careful out there. There are a lot of banks that will, quote you a low rate, but then, you get the paperwork and you see all these fees. Now, we don't charge any fees. And there's a reason for that, because we're a broker. We're not tied to any one bank. I'm not a salesman for a bank. I'm a loan advisor. I put you with the bank that has the best deal for you. The bank pays us our fees, so you don't have to pay us anything. But a lot of these banks, they'll charge a bunch of fees and points too. So I always say no lender fees and no points, because sometimes they'll say no points, but there's lender fees, or they'll say no lender fees, but there's points. Always make sure it's clear that we don't charge either. Also, if you notice on a fixed rate loan that your APR is significantly higher than your note rate, that's a red flag. So keep an eye out for that. If you notice that, you can always send me your loan documents, even if you're in a state that I don't lend in. You can send me your loan documents. I'll review them for you anytime. People contact me from all over the country all the time to look at their loan documents. Is totally okay. Someone's got to be there looking out for you, right? And I don't know of anybody but me, so I'll do the job. Down payment. How much down payment are you comfortable for? Another question that stumps first-time home buyers. How much are you willing to put into this transaction? Because you've got down payment and closing costs. So how much money can you shell out towards that and still have a comfortable enough amount set behind that you don't feel like you're just completely taking all of your money out of the equation? That's an important question to ask. Now, if you're buying with the VA loan, you get a 0% down, or you're doing a down payment assistance program, maybe you don't need a down payment. But in most cases, you do. And if you're not, if you don't have a down payment, then we need to look at a specific strategy that would help you get a home without a down payment, because you may still need to pay closing costs. Asking yourself those questions like, hey, will we need to make sacrifices to get what we want, to either save the money we need for down payment or to be able to afford the houses that we really like, and the payment that's associated with them? Will we need to make sacrifices? And what sacrifices can we make? It's always a good idea to make a list. So all these are all things you should list out. What monthly payment are we comfortable with? Have a discussion around that. How much do you qualify for? That you'll find out when you do your pre-approval, whether it's with me or another lender. You can always contact me. I'm happy to do your pre-approval. How much are we willing to put into the transaction? Not just down payment, but down payment and closing costs. How much cash do we have that we're comfortable with setting aside for this? And then if we need to make sacrifices, what things could we sacrifice? Do we have a third car we don't really need? $600 a month? Do we have, something, that we could make a move on, make a change with, refinance, etc.? What kind of sacrifices could we make if we need to? Great questions to be asking. And also make sure we're all on the same page. Sometimes spouses can not be on the same page about these things. And so it's a good idea to have these conversations, flush them out right now. Hopefully you're both watching this right now, but maybe you're both watching in separate places. And so, come together on this page and go through these items, screenshot this right here and say, hey, let's get on the same page. And if there's things we need to duke out that we are in disagreement about, let's flush those out now. Let's not get to a point where one person falls in love with a house that another person doesn't like. Let's do it now. Let's say, hey, just so you know, I have to have a pool, or hey, I do not want this or that, or I have to have vaulted ceilings. I feel claustrophobic otherwise. Get those things sort of flushed out so you can be on the same page. Very, very good idea. Make an outline of your priorities. This is a list that you will make. Like, what are the things that we need to have? What are the things that are absolutely necessary? We need 4 bedrooms because we have us, the 2 kids, and then we need a home office. What are the things that you need that are absolute? Okay, so these are your must-haves. And then what are the things that you want? So these would be the things that aren't must-haves, but they are things that you would like to have. And so they will be bonuses. Make this list so that when you go look at properties, you can actually make check marks on each property. Does it meet all of our needs? How many of our wants does it meet? And that'll really help you grade the properties afterwards, because especially when you go look at 7 or 8 houses, you'll forget them. You will. I always recommend taking your own videos as well, just of the things that you really like about certain properties, just so you can remember. Take notes. Your realtor will bring printouts typically for each one, and it's a modern age, so sometimes they don't do that anymore. But they may have a printout of it. If they don't, request that. Say, hey, can you give me a printout of each listing? So I'm going to make notes on each one. And you got to make detailed notes, because you'll forget. You will forget after looking at 7 or 8 houses. You'll forget. And then, of course, you can have a wish list. And this would be like, hey, in our absolute dream scenario, we would love to have all these things and this. And those wish list items might be things that are rare or uncommon, like, hey, it'd be great if there was a sauna at the property, or something like that, an ADU or a separate unit or a casita. It's good to know what those things are too, and to communicate all of these things with your realtor. Tell your realtor about your needs, tell them about your wants, and give them your wish list as well. It's also important to look at what locations are going to work for you. Do we have to drive to jobs? Are we working from home? What locations will work? Or if it's a shorter list, what locations will not work so they can be excluded from your search? Personally, I recommend having this part be as broad as possible. A lot of times the perfect property won't be in the perfect location, or properties in the perfect location won't be the perfect property. If location is something that is absolutely crucial to you, hey, we have to be in North Park, or we have to be in Encinitas. That's also good to know. Hey, we absolutely have to be in Encinitas. This is a school district we want for our kids. Okay, great. That helps you really narrow down the market. It'll make it easier for you to become familiar with the market and know what's a good deal and what isn't. Oh, and the buyer triangle. So we were just talking about the house you want versus the location you want, and where we are right now sometimes are not in alignment. And, so it can be a big decision to make. Do we go ahead and wait until we can afford to be in the location we want with the house we want? Or what if we never get there? So sometimes sacrifices need to be made in this regard. And as long as you feel comfortable with that and you are excited about the home, it's okay. Typically, you will know when you walk into a home that you love or that's going to work for you, that you can see being home, you'll know. So I say trust your gut more than anything. There is, as far as selecting a realtor goes, there is a video for that as well on my channel called How to Select a Realtor in San Diego Real Estate, if you want to check that out. But one day I'll get tech savvy enough to figure out how to link these together or something. When it comes to selecting a realtor, this is such a difficult thing to do for people who aren't in the industry, because you don't know. People look good, they have a suit on, or they say they're really great. It's hard to know who's actually going to hustle for you, who's actually going to have your best interest in mind. It's very, very difficult. So referrals, I think, are best. Referrals from people who you know and respect in the industry, like myself. I can refer you a realtor. I can for sure refer you a good realtor. 100% guaranteed if I refer you a realtor, they're going to be great. Or you get a referral from a friend. If you get a referral from a friend, just ask yourself, did they transact? In other words, if Susie gives you her realtor friend, is it just her friend that's a realtor that she's trying to support? Or did she actually buy or sell a house with that realtor and have some experience with them and know that they're good? Because people will be excited to refer you someone for two different reasons. One is because they're trying to support that person. Hey, this is my friend. I want to help them succeed, so I'm going to refer you to them. That's one reason people would be excited to refer someone. They also would be excited to refer someone that they had a good experience with. So just make sure you know which one it is. And make sure that you have, when you talk to someone who did transact with somebody, do you have similar goals to what they had? In other words, if they were a first-time buyer, buying in a neighborhood, or maybe buying a new construction home, which is exactly what you want to do, then that's a great referral, right? If you're going to do the same thing they did, and they're going to tell you about the service provider they used, then that's a perfect fit. But if they said, hey, well, we bought land in Hamul from this realtor, and you're looking to buy, a home in North Park, then it may not, be close enough to say, hey, your experience is valid here for a referral basis. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't interview the realtor they're referring you. Just keep that in mind as you're going through that process. And by the way, your realtor friends are totally okay to use. I know some people are hesitant to do that. I understand the hesitations. Hey, you don't want to mix friends in business, or you don't want the friendship to go sour if the transaction gets weird. So I do understand that. But it's okay to use your friends, your realtor friends. It's perfectly okay. Just make sure there's more to it. Make sure you respect them on a professional level, or you've seen them, or you've maybe referred people to them and they've done a good job, or don't just use them just because they're your friend. Make sure that you're getting a good professional as well. Vet them out as best you can. But it's okay to use your friends. I made an entire video on this as well, called How to Select a Realtor in San Diego Real Estate. And I think I actually put that in there twice. So you can go watch that video. It goes in more detail about how to select a realtor, what questions to ask, and stuff like that. Shopping for homes. This is the fun part, but it can also be exhausting. It's, it's emotional. You go, you fall in love with the place, then you find out, oh, it's already sold. Or you go and, you fall in love with the place, you write an offer, it gets accepted, and then you find out something's wrong with it and you have to cancel. Those things can all happen. So it can be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. And but the looking at homes part is fun. And so here's how I suggest you shop for homes. So start online to learn the market. This is a great way to get an idea for just prices, areas, what's being listed for what. You can use redfin.com as a great place to go in, and you can heart or like different homes, and then it'll give you the history on those homes. So it'll tell you when they sell. It'll tell you if there's a price reduction. It's a great way to learn the market. I wouldn't go looking unless you're ready to pull the trigger, and I'll tell you why. It's just one of those things, Murphy's Law, whatever you want to call it. If you go out looking and you say, well, we have no intention of buying, but we're going to go look, it's very likely that you'll find something you want to buy. So I wouldn't go and actually look at properties unless you are ready to pull the trigger. Now, what I mean by ready to pull the trigger, meaning you've committed in your mind to, we are going to buy a home at some point. We're just going to go look and get a feel for the market. That's perfectly okay. But you should get pre-approved first. Otherwise, again, it's just a situation where you're going to potentially get your hopes up or be let down in a major way. And it's unfortunate that happens. But, when you go out with no intentions, and you have no expectations, it's almost guaranteed that you'll find something that you can't live without. Prepare a list of questions. What are those things that we talked about that you made a list of earlier? These are questions we have to ask on every home. Does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? What about this? What about the neighborhood? What about the schools? Make that list of questions, write them all down, and then answer each one for each property. Because again, you're going to forget this stuff. And so you got to go back and go through those things to really be able to compare and contrast the different homes you're going to see. So prepare a list of questions that are important to you about each home. And then, of course, take as many notes as you can. Take as many notes as you can on each property. You will not remember most of the stuff that you see. And sometimes you can just sort of forget about one and go, oh, yeah, that one. Oh, wait, what was this one? Did it have this? Did it have that? Was there a third bedroom down there? I can't remember. Take notes. Trust me on this one. Take notes. You'll be glad you did. And reiterating again, if you're sitting here like having a conversation about, is this the right home for us? Do we really like this place? Is this going to work for us? If you're really kind of questioning those things, it's very unlikely that that's the home for you. Most likely, I'm saying high 90s, you're going to know almost right when you walk in the house that feels like home. Trust your gut. You'll know almost when you walk in. Sometimes before you even walk in, you'll just walk up to the house and go, gosh, this looks like home. Like we've been living here already. You trust your gut on. You'll know. If you're debating it too much, it's probably not the right one. Probably not the right one. And the few exceptions to that are going to be situations where your budget is really keeping you from being able to get a lot of the things on your list, but you want to be invested, you want to accumulate properties. And so in those cases, you may have to be more logical about it because it's more of an investment in that case. For the most part, though, you're going to know. Okay, when it's time to write offers, hey, we walked into one, we love it. Number one piece of advice here is listen to your agent. Your agent wants you to get the house too. Okay, they're invested in that as you are. So when you find one you really want, they're going to do everything they can to help you get it. So listen to them on this. The way that they request writing the offer or what things they say, hey, we need to do this or we need to do that. They're going to talk to the listing agent and try to figure out like, hey, what do we need to do to win this? A listing agent probably won't tell them everything, but may. And so they're going to get some insight and they're going to come back to you with it. Follow their lead on this. If you don't trust them enough to listen to them and to follow their lead, then I would say find a different agent that you do trust enough to follow their lead. A lot of times, unfortunately, people have to lose one or two before they really start to get it. Before they go, okay, my agent wasn't just trying to, force this transaction or do something. They actually were telling me the truth and that, we need to be more aggressive or we need to do this or we need to remove this contingency or we need to shorten these time frames or whatever it is. Sometimes you may have to lose one or two, and that's okay. I know a lot of people won't just take advice. They need to experience it. They need to see it and live it for themselves. And that's okay. If you have to go through that process, just know most people do, and it's okay. but learn from those. Each time you lose one, you go back and go, hey, what could we have done differently? How could we have been, better? So I can't tell you how many times people have lost homes over $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in price, where they had it right in their hands and they just wouldn't budge on that. And it's, $30 a month in payment or something. I mean, so inconsequential, you wouldn't even notice it. And it's tough to lose out on homes like that. I've seen people lose out on homes like that and then still be looking for 2 years and prices have gone up $200,000. So just listen to your agent, and hopefully you don't have to, but if you do lose one or two, it's okay. A bigger earnest money deposit can speak volumes a lot of times with sellers. 1% is pretty typical around here. If you do 2 or 3%, that can really say something like, hey, we want to show how committed we are here. You don't have a lot of risk, although there is some risk when you put earnest money in. You can lose it if you break the contract. In all my time here, let's see, I've been in San Diego since 2004. Goodness gracious, almost 20 years. I've never seen anyone, and I was in the mortgage business for 5 years before that. I've never seen anyone lose an earnest money deposit. Not one of my clients has ever lost an earnest money deposit. So while there is a theoretical risk there, practical risk has been zero in my experience. So a bigger earnest money deposit seems like a great risk reward. Use a cover letter if you can. These have been sort of outlawed a little bit in recent months, and you're not supposed to do it in certain ways. There's certain ways you can. So just, if there's a way you can use a cover letter, or if you want to drop off something separate from your offer, a cover letter is usually submitted with an offer. If your agent says, hey, we can't do that in this area, it's been outlawed by our MLS or our local association of realtors or whatever, just, maybe write a personal letter and just drop it off at the house. Write a letter just to, hey, we're the Smith family. It's me, my wife, our 2 kids. We want to live here. We want this to be our home. We want our kids to go to the school across the street. We're so excited if you give us a chance. We submitted our offer with agent, Jane Johnson, 2 days ago or whatever. Feel free to do that if you want to. You can do that. Your agent may not be able to, depending upon rules, but you can just put it in an envelope and just drop it on someone's front porch. That's something that's really not a bad idea, especially if you're in a competitive market. A very good idea to help stand out amongst those other offers. And remember, when you're writing an offer, even once it's accepted, even after your offer gets accepted, it is still just the beginning of the negotiations, meaning that there's plenty of time to renegotiate things depending upon what happens, what you see, and how things go. So just remember that. It's not over yet, and really just for the sake of your own benefit. All right, the escrow process. When you do get your offer accepted, you're going to the escrow process. It's going to be like having a second job for 3 or 4 weeks. That's just the reality of it. Escrow is going to be contacting you. We're going to be contacting you. Your agent's going to be contacting you. You're going to be signing stuff, reviewing stuff, submitting paperwork. It's a lot, okay? It's a lot. Remember, you're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars from people who don't know you. So it makes sense why so much paperwork is required. You do get a due diligence period. How long will depend on what you wrote into your offer. And during that due diligence period, you're going to be checking out the home. You're going to be doing inspections, having appraisals done. You get to go back and revisit it, go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure it is what you thought it was. I always say getting a look under the hood. In order to do that, you want to hire a good inspector. Here in San Diego, I recommend the San Diego Real Estate Inspection Company. You'll see these little cars driving around. You've probably seen them around. They're the biggest company around. A good buddy of mine owns it, and they do a tremendous job. Tons of technology, infrared cameras, moisture detection cameras, all kinds of things that are really, really helpful, in being able to identify things that need to be addressed and renegotiate. If you have an inspection that kind of goes ugly, like, man, there's a lot of things, we didn't expect that are wrong with this property, renegotiate. That's an opportunity for you to renegotiate the price, renegotiate a credit, or just say, hey, we want you to fix all these things. These 8 items need to be fixed, or we're just not interested anymore. That's your opportunity to say, hey, we felt good about this deal. We no longer feel good about this deal. We would, however, feel good about this deal again if these things happen. And so that's a good opportunity to do that. And if it doesn't feel right, you feel like it's wrong, it's okay to back out, but just communicate clearly to your agent these things. Hey, we don't feel good about this deal anymore. We would feel okay about this deal again if these things happen. That way your agent can go, hey, listen, my clients are going to cancel unless you do these things. And they can take a hard line with that listing agent and let them know the truth. You don't want them to just send a request for repairs or something like that, and the agent on the other side says, hey, we're just negotiating. You need to let them know it's a 5-alarm fire, and we don't like this anymore. This is what it would take for us to feel good about it again, and if you guys can't do that, then we are going to walk away. So it's just good to communicate. Be very clear about that stuff. Also, provide a little cushion for your move. Don't try to, be moving into your new house and moving out of your old house the same day or back-to-back days or anything like that. Just trust me on that. Leave yourself a week of cushion, of overlap between the two, so you have plenty of time, because moving out is one project, moving in is another project. So you're going to have both of those projects on your plate at the same time, and it would be good for yourself if you create some leeway, so you don't throw your back out and all those things. So leave some cushion for your move, and you'll be really glad that you did. All right, here's some reminders for you from today's video. Capacity and budget is crucial to understand and follow through the process. Have that conversation. Understand where you feel, capacity is what you get pre-approved for, but budget is where you want to be. So make sure that you're clear about those things. Choosing a realtor could be a huge difference maker for you in the outcome you ultimately achieve. I just see it over and over all the time, where these good agents just make things happen, crush whenever problems come into the equation. So if you need a referral to a great realtor, just let me know. I can refer you a great realtor easily. And remember, you're protected up to a point. So do not be afraid to back out if it doesn't feel right. You're protected. Communicate. You're essentially not committed to a transaction. Even if you get your offer accepted, you have your loan approved, you're not committed until you release your contingencies. So until you do that, you're still protected to get out of this thing. And you should just communicate if there's something you don't feel good about or something that's making you want to back out. Talk to your agent about that and see if they can fix it. And if they can't, don't be afraid to back out. If it doesn't feel right, it's okay. It should, buying a home should feel right. Now, you may still have buyer's remorse. In fact, you're going to be nervous. Let me tell you, no matter how many properties you buy, whether it's your 10th one, your 100th one, your first one, every single time you're going to be nervous. Every single time you're going to have second thoughts. Every single time you're going to have anxiety about it. It's because it's a big commitment, and there's just no way around that. So it's one thing to have second thoughts or to be nervous or to be going, well, is there something wrong with the place that we didn't see? That's normal. But if you really don't feel right about it, like, hey, this is too big of a project, or, there's too many things wrong with this. Like, we really don't like this. I thought it was in much better shape. It's going to cost too much for us to maintain this home over the next few years. We're just not interested. If it's things that, you're really like, hey, this isn't what we thought when we were excited about this property. This isn't what we thought it was when we wrote the offer. That's a different story, right? So trust your gut all the way through, and you'll be glad that you did. All right. So what are people doing to win in the San Diego home buying process? Mainly these three things. They're more prepared. Okay. So time and preparation is time well spent. That's being pre-approved ahead of time, knowing what your budget is, getting payments calculated on a home. As soon as you see one that you like, get a payment quote. Know what payment equates to that home before you see it in person, ideally. So you know what it's going to cost. If you fall in love with a home first, you might be tempted to overspend. Being less emotional. Most bad decisions I've seen were made with emotion at the forefront. And that goes across all aspects of business and life. I mean, not just in real estate. So be less emotional. I say trust your gut and let your gut lead you. Emotions will, you start picturing different things in your mind and things like that can lead you astray. So just trust your gut. And working with a great team. Your realtor matters. Your lender matters. Big time. Not small time, big time on both fronts. So obviously, vouching for myself, I've been doing this for 25 years. We have an impeccable track record We don't charge any BS fees. We have wholesale home loan rates, and I can give you 1,000 different people who could corroborate that we've closed loans for. When it comes to realtors, it's harder. It's harder to find, a realtor that is going to have your best interest in mind, is going to kick butt for you. But it's okay to give a realtor a shot. And if they don't, or you don't feel like you're getting the communication, you don't feel like you're getting the effort that you were hoping to get, it's okay to let them go and just say, hey, it's not working out. We're going to use someone else. Same thing with your lender. If you're not getting communication from them, it's taking them 2 days to get back to you for a payment quote and things like that. That's not going to be fast enough in this market. It's just not. You need someone who's responsive, who can get you the information quickly so you can make decisions quickly, because the best homes go fast, and nothing's going to change that no matter what market we're in. So if you need help with anything, feel free to, is this a random Y just hanging out here? Call or text me. That's my cell phone. You can email me as well. That's my license number. If you need help with anything, I'll be here. I really hope this video was helpful for you, and I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be chatting soon. Take care.